These are the undeniable facts.
We are here today as a result of an election.
If you show up, you have power. You have power if you show up.
Anything that you were concerned about, any worry that you have for you and your family, we can tie it directly to a vote into an election.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our fourth JCPS forum. My name is Felicia Newman. I am the Director of Policy at the Louisville Urban League. You're used to seeing Lyndon prior. Lyndon couldn't make it this evening, but he may be here later on. Let's hope. Tonight, I'm the esteemed honor to stand before you on behalf of a coalition of incredible civic organizations. Tonight's forum is hosted by the Louisville Urban League, NAACP, League of Women Voters, Black, National Council of Negro Women, Clout, the Links, ACLU of Kentucky, and AOS of Kentucky. This is your opportunity to hear from the District 4 candidates for JCPS 4. Now, it's important to note that this is a forum, not a debate. That's an important distinction. Every candidate will be answering the same questions, and their job is not to engage with each other, but talk directly to you. With that in mind, we ask our audience two things. Please maintain respectful, engaged atmosphere that is critical to civic discussions. We encourage applause, but we want you to refrain from any outbursts, heckling, and interruptions. Before we begin, let's have a quick review of the rules to ensure a smooth and fair process. To ensure impartiality, we have drawn numbers and we have lined up the candidate as such from my far left, 1, 2, 3, 4. They all drew numbers. And we are committed to giving everyone equal time. They will get 1 minute to do an opening statement. They will get 1 minute to answer their question. And they get 1 minute at the end of our presentation to give a closing statement about whatever they wish. This forum is more about than just listening, it's about action. It is about understanding the critical role you play in shaping our city's future. That is the core mission of the Louisville Urban League. The Power Shift campaign is our campaign to amplify voices of our community and mobilize our neighbors to hold leaders accountable. I encourage everyone here tonight to take the first step by signing our pledge to vote at thepowershift26.org, thepowershift26.org, and make that commitment now and let the shift power together to this election cycle. We have, as our moderator today, we have Alexis Matthews, and I'm going to go to my email and find her bio, and I'm going to read it to you. Alexis Matthews is an Emmy Award-winning reporter and anchor for WLKY, the local CBS affiliate, and most watched television news station in Metro Louisville. Prior to landing in the Derby City, Alexis's background in media included working as an evening anchor, reporter, and digital writer at NBC, Fox, and CBS affiliates in West Virginia and Ohio. Alexis is the graduate of the University of Kentucky with a bachelor's degree in broadcast and journalism and a minor in gender and women's studies. She was born and raised in Chicago and is a proud member of Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Thank you so much, and help me welcome Alexis back. There you are. There you go. Okay, so you're gonna need. Oh, you got one.
Thank you so much, Felicia. How are you all doing out there? Doing okay? Well, as you mentioned, my name is Alexis Matthews, and I'm honored to moderate this JCPS forum tonight to give you, as community members, the opportunity to hear from candidates in District 4 ahead of the November election. But it's also during a crucial time where there's been shake-ups, policy changes around JCPS, redrawn districts. As we know, the school board has now shrunk. And as we saw this morning, there was the unfortunate and senseless violence act that has yet again impacted JCPS students and our entire community. So now more than ever is the time to make informed decisions at the ballot box and beyond. So as Felicia kind of went over just a little bit, some housekeeping rules for our candidates here. They'll have 1 minute to give opening statements, which is their opportunity to introduce themselves to you all. And then they'll also have 1 minute to answer the questions that I will ask them. And then 1 minute for closing statements. And correct me if I'm wrong, Felicia, if a candidate is mentioned and another candidate's answered, that candidate will have the opportunity to give a rebuttal. So we'll give time for that as well. And as you all see here, there is a clock right there in front of you. Be cognizant of the time. It's a school night. We want to get out of here at a decent time. And again, as mentioned, the candidates have drawn a number for the order that they will go ahead and go in. And if you all are ready, are we good to get started? And I believe we're going to start with Ms. Jackson. She'll be the first person to give her opening statement.
I'm Deja Jackson. I'm so excited to be here with you today. As a JCPS parent and the daughter of an educator, these are critical times for JCPS, and we need people who will take this role seriously and really, as I say, I love a labor of love. So we need people who enjoy labors of love and are not afraid to roll their sleeves up. I have worked in the nonprofit sector for almost a decade, really ensuring that students and families thrive. And so this is a natural progression for me to not only ensure that the students and families that I work with in the nonprofit sector are thriving, but the 94,000 JCPS students are thriving. And that's it. That's for me.
Good evening. First, I want to thank Burton Creek High School for allowing us to be here tonight. I am Dr. Michelle Patrick, and I am a retired educator. I was a teacher for 27 years. I was also an assistant principal. I went to KDE and worked there for several years. I was also a dean and first vice president of Midway College. So I have a wealth of experience. I am here because I want to ensure that every student has a successful path. I believe that all children should be given the opportunity to excel at high levels. So that is the reason why I'm running, and I look forward to working with this big, vast District 4.
Good evening, and thank you to the members of the community and educators. My name is Trevin. I'm running for District 4. I'm not coming to you as a regular candidate. I'm actually someone who is boots on the ground. For the past 2.5 years, it's been an honor to be on the board, to serve the board, and I actually want to continue to serve the board because we got a lot of unfinished work that we started. My biggest goal actually is to continue to hold Dr. Yearwood and our team accountable, and also to bring our youth up in a lot of the things that we're missing. So far as the grades, the grades, the academics, the discipline, the safety, all around wraparound services. And really, it's just as an opportunity to continue to serve my community. As I said, Mr. Boots on the ground.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kimberly Vinegar, and I'm so happy to be here tonight to speak with you all. My connection to JCPS is both professional and personal. I've spent years working directly with students and staff, and my husband and both of my kids are graduates of JCPS. I would have too, but I'm from up north. Shh, don't tell anybody. I am talking about the system that helped shape my family, so I'm very invested. I'm running because I want every student to grow into a confident, contributing adult who feels prepared for the world ahead. One area I hope to advance is differentiated instruction. Students live in different ways, learn in different ways, and when we give teachers the tools necessary to meet those needs, we open doors for every kind of learner, and I've seen how powerful that can be. I also believe in listening, truly listening to students, families, and staff. The people closest to the work have insight that we cannot afford to miss. I'm looking forward to tonight's conversation, and thank you again for being here.
Thank you all so much. We'll go ahead and dive right into our first question for you to answer. Can we give the mic back to Ms. Jackson?
It's actually
Oh, okay. The first question.
Oh, you're number one. Gotcha. Okay. Well, the first topic will be financial stability and
She's
gotcha, and board governance. So the $188 million deficit that JCPS is experiencing expose a breakdown in financial oversight and transparency in the district. What would you do as a board member to make sure the board is never again surprised by the true condition of the district's finances?
As a board member, I would check very closely with the dollars that are being spent. I would also make sure that the questions that I ask go directly to why is it that we have this deficit? You know, I felt as a member of this community that everything was not shared with the community. So therefore, I feel like before I make a decision about anything, I have the right questions asked and and to know exactly where to look for those things. I think a lot of things were hidden from this community. And unfortunately, we cannot allow that to happen again. And as a board member, I will be very versed because you know what? I have to keep a budget at my own house. Oh, I'm going over. So I would like to make sure that I ask the right questions. Thank you. That way. It's going that way. Oh, right there. Okay.
Oh, yeah, but this light is really bad in my eyes. Um, so the question was about the budget, correct?
Yes, what would you do as a board member to make
Well,
sure the board is never getting surprised by the condition of the deficit?
well, as a board member, we have open communication. Dr. Yearwood weekly reaches out to me. When we talk about the budget, I ask certain questions, but what really needs to happen is we need to look at the funding that we are using and look at the return of investments and see how we can actually stretch a dollar. A lot of the times, what I'm realizing is some of these programs that we are paying for could actually be free. There's things that we can maybe get within central office and kind of just stretch this dollar in the sense that we will not be surprised. We also need to make sure that we have a relationship with the higher ups, people who are funding us, like Frankfurt. We need to make sure that we have open communication and make sure that they understand why we need this funding and exactly where this money is going to avoid us getting into the situation that we was in the past, which I'm very confident with the leadership that we have now that we will not be back into that deficit, unless, of course, the administration uh, does what they did previously. But that's the answer.
So I know the big conversation is going to be, we have to communicate, which is absolutely true, but we need to communicate with the right people. Dr. Yearwood, he knows about the budget because he's in the seat, but there are also people in Jefferson County in the finance department who know more than he does about the finances in Jefferson County. So the board would need to be open and meeting with those folks to find out what's actually going on. Dr. Yearwood went to school to be a superintendent, a principal, a teacher. Didn't go to school to be a finance director. So we need to rely on the people that do know finance to help lead us in the right direction, and we need to meet regularly to have those conversations.
So I've served on several boards, and one of the number one responsibilities as a board member is to be a good financial steward of the organization. So I would take those skills and apply them to JCPS as a board member. I would make sure to ask really critical questions, as all of the rest of them have said, about where the money is being spent, where it's going, who it's going to, but also as we're making financial decisions, ensuring that we're asking questions about what's the financial impact now, but later down the line. During COVID, we had to buy Chromebooks, and when we made that decision, it was something that needed to be made in the time, but I don't know if it was considered. We would have to get new Chromebooks every couple of years, and what that would look like later down. So I want to make sure that as a board member, I'm asking those critical questions about the financial impact now and later.
Thank you all. We're going to move on to student learning and outcomes. So JCPS continues to struggle with persistent achievement gaps between demographic groups. For example, reports show that only 36% of students are proficient in reading. Now, as a board member, what specific measurable student learning outcomes
I
will
hear my
you
legs
prioritize?
working.
And how would you hold the superintendent accountable if those targets aren't met within your first 2 years?
All right. So the biggest thing we need to make sure that these students is comprehending what they're reading. So one of my biggest things would be for us to measure what is the student understanding, what can they actually recite back, which I've learned myself that the best way to learn is if you're able to teach it. So for me, I would more so look into smaller groups, those that's not performing well, get them with peers and stuff that is, and then get them to be able to recite it. The way that we will also be able to track everything is again with the investments, the different programs that we have. We'll evaluate them, make sure that those are actually doing what they say they were going to do. This is where Dr. Yearwood and his leadership will actually come in play because he is the one who has to make these decisions and review and make sure everything is according to what the board is set the goal is. So I would actually just make sure that Dr. Yearwood has the return of investment, make sure that the programs is doing what they say they're doing, and if not, we need to get rid of it.
So I know a lot of time when we look at student success, we look at whether they're at grade level and where they stand against all norms. But what I'd love to see us focus on is the growth that students are making. No matter where they're at, I want to know where they're going. And just because they're not at grade level does not mean they're not making gains. It doesn't mean that they're not working hard. It doesn't mean that they don't deserve to be recognized. So I want to recognize kids and look at growth, not just attaining mastery. And the way that we can measure that is by looking at school data. Schools take data every day, all day, and then special ed on top of that 30 times a day. So we can look at that school-based data. A principal, their leadership team, they can absolutely run a report saying this is where our kids were, this is where they're going. I don't think we can hold Dr. Yearwood specifically responsible for those things. It is a district-wide project. We're all working towards the same goal, so we need to look at everyone, not just Dr. Yearwood.
Can you repeat the question?
Absolutely. So when it comes to student learning and outcomes, JCPS does continue to struggle with that. 36% of the students are proficient in reading. So as a board member, what measurable student learning outcomes will you prioritize and how will you hold the superintendent accountable if those targets are met?
So of course, I am not a teacher. I'm not, faculty and staff. So I would look to the judgment of organizations like JCTA and NEA to kind of see what their metrics are, what they're looking for. Whenever you're thinking about what is going to make a student successful, we need to ensure that they have critical thinking skills and that they're being taught to critically think as they are, growing and moving on to the next part of their life. Of course, reading and math are also very important, but I really would defer to JCTA and NEA to kind of see where our metrics are lacking and where we need to really invest in.
Do you want me to go on? Okay. That question is a two-fold question. Number one, we need to see whatever program that we're using. We need to look at measurable goals. And if those students are meeting those goals. And if they're not meeting those goals, then we don't need to wait a long period of time to say, let's nix this program. When it comes to the superintendent in his role, basically, he is the CEO of the district. And so therefore, my role as a board member is to make sure that policies are evaluated, established, and I provide governance. So it's up to him to decide whether or not we keep that program. But what I would be looking at as a board member is those goals. Are we meeting them? And no community needs to wait 1 or 2 years to decide whether or not we're going to keep that program. So that's what I would do.
Okay, we're gonna move on to a hotbed topic in technology, which is AI. So last week, another media outlet report revealed the Farms and Middle School agenda that went out at the beginning of the school year. And that booklet contained many errors like wrong names for states and the periodic table. So what guardrails should the district be putting around staff and students when using AI in the classroom?
Well, this was a great one to have to go first. AI has its place. We as adults use AI, and nobody tell me in this room they don't, because they do. But it does need to be wrangled in. I think that the board would make general rules for AI in the classroom, but really each individual school is going to have to take our arching oversight and then come up with their own rules to reach their population.
So AI, of course, is a tool like everything else that we use. It shouldn't be something that we are relying on solely. It should not replace humans. It really should be used to enhance learning, not to replace anything else. The thing that happened in the agenda is actually abysmal, and if someone had had human eyes on that, they would have been able to catch that. But as I said, really, we need to use AI as an enhancement if we're using it at all. Of course, there's a lot of concerns around data and privacy when talking about AI, so that's something that I think that we as a board would need to really think about, what kind of AI we like to be used in the classroom and in the school system. But at the end of the day, it should be used as a tool to enhance, not to replace.
Well, I love AI. I'm just going to tell you that. And as a teacher, I see it as a tool, a resource. And, we had this outbreak when it came with the slide ruler, with the computer, with websites, all of that. So this is a tool. But where I think we need to work on the usage of this is to instruct our teachers on how to design lessons with it. So they need professional development on how to use AI. So I think, we have to move forward. We cannot move backwards. So we need to let children know this is a tool. Thank you.
I would agree. It is a tool. I think it's actually something that we need to gear the students as well as the teachers on how to use it in the future. What's going on right now is the city is behind. You look at other states and things, you will see how the students are using AI to actually learn and actually teach as well. With AI, for me, I think what we need to do is make sure that our IT department is ahead of everything. Maybe come up with an academy that's a part of AI to make sure that we are learning in real time and that we're not getting behind. We also need to make sure the security aspect is strong as well because I'm learning that AI is learning all about us and security wise we need to make sure that our students is safe. So within the guardrail, I just would like for the IT department to kind of maybe create our own AI to where we can learn more about it and then have our students be able to utilize that for their future and ours to come.
Okay, now we're gonna move on and discuss screen time. Now, the recent state audit of JCPS released in July indicated that many teachers relied heavily on students working individually on Chromebooks, reducing high quality engagement and instructional materials. Now, did you all read this report and what do you believe is a solution for reducing that screen time and increasing high quality teacher engagement?
So I read a little bit of the report, and all of us as parents are really struggling with how to utilize screen time in our day to day. As a parent, I literally have that conversation with at least two of my friends once a week. So I know we're all struggling with that for both our kids and ourselves. So the things that I would refer to is, again, I mean, I want to make sure that I'm supportive of the teachers and the faculty and staff to ensure that they can make their own decisions on how they want to utilize technology in the classroom, specifically computers, but also making sure that we have firm guardrails on it. As a board member, really our focus is about the strategic direction of the organization and managing the superintendent. So really our place is at the curriculum in the classroom. It is really focused on those overarching things. So I'd like to focus on that instead.
I cannot say that I read the report, but let's use common sense here. We don't want our children exposed to everything that's on the internet. But if there is an instruction that the teacher has planned out for the student to use, yes, I have no problem with that. It is a tool. Now, when it comes, I need to make sure that you understand what my role is if I am your board member. That is to and evaluate policy and to govern over those policies. So if the school district says every student is going to have 30 minutes of class time on some type of on screen time, then I will be there to make sure that that is what they're doing, and I would ask the superintendent, are all classrooms doing that? I am not into the day-to-day operations of what goes on in the school. That's not the role of the board member.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure, I just asked, did you read the most recent state audit of JCPS and what you believe is a solution for reducing screen time, usage by the kids, and increasing teacher engagement?
Well, I did. I didn't read all of it. It's very extensive. But from what I did read, I believe that we need to be realistic about the screen time because the screen time that's in school is also going on at home. So, for my belief is we just need to have a real conversation. What is it that needs to actually be on the screen? Can we go back to paper and pen? Can we go back to actually reading the textbooks, which I believe we need to go back to a lot of those things. So when it comes to like math, I understand we can do straight books, but some technologies, just like AI, we would need a computer. So I think within us just measuring the time frame, which I think a good 2 hours is okay, but again, I think it needs to go with autonomy within the teachers and the principals because they know their students, they know exactly how they're going to learn. But we do need to be mindful on how much it is being used.
As with everybody, I read a little bit of the report. It's humongous. But so we got into Chromebooks and all the media technology during COVID. They were essential for us to be able to teach during COVID. That's the only way we were going to get through and be able to teach our kids. COVID is over. It's long been over. Then now the only reason for us to use technology is to solidify skills for practice. It should not be used to teach a new skill. It should not be used all the time. It should be to solidify skills or to remediate skills. So I think as a board that we can kind of set a precedence. These are the things this is okay for, but then again, I agree that we need to let the schools bring it down and dirty at their level.
Okay. We're going to move on to student disciplinary practice. Now, restorative justice, school policy, and the school police system represent two fundamentally opposing approaches to student behavior, safety, and discipline. Now, restorative justice prioritizes relationship building, repairing harm, and emotional accountability, whereas the school police system relies on law enforcement, security measures, and punitive legal consequences. Which do you believe is right for JCPS and why?
I believe the first one. When I see JCPS officers interact with our youth, is way different than LMPD. It seems that they have a sense of belonging. Even myself, I feel more comfortable with JCPS police when they interact compared to who I pay taxes on. I truly believe too because I've seen the interactions. I've seen the officers know the students' names, give them props, give them even if they got to tell them something's wrong. And the reception, I mean, the way the students respond is way different than they even respond to the teachers. So I believe that the support of JCPS, its police, is being engaged and interacting with our students is way much impactful than them just policing as LMPD does. It also gives the students a sense of security because honestly, a lot of them do not feel safe and secure outside of JCPS's offices. So I truly believe the first one is what's needed.
So my answer is going to be that both are appropriate in JCPS. 99% of the time, restorative justice is going to be the way to go. The kids learn from it, they develop relationships. We can repair some of the relationships between kids and teachers. But then there are moments when we have the kids who are super aggressive, the kids who have weapons, looking at the situation that happened at the bus stop this morning. Those are the times when we need police. And we need to be open to that. We need to make sure JCPS, police staff, and LMPD staff are working together. There should be trainings going both ways. How can LMPD work with our kids? How can we in schools work with LMPD to make happen what they need to happen as well? So I think it needs to be a collaboration between both sides.
I also agree that it should be something that is an and, not an or. Of course, heavily leaning more on the restorative justice side. But for those situations that are a little bit out of hand, we need to rely on the school police to ensure that that they're available for teachers, faculty, and staff for those situations that do get out of hand. Because they do. I've talked to plenty of teachers who have told me about situations that you wouldn't even imagine. So we need to be able to call on those police officers in the school, but rely really heavily on restorative justice because not everyone needs to go to the police.
Well, I'm not going to be any different. We should have both. Our schools should reflect society, and our children need to understand. When you're out there on the street, there's somebody going to handle you. When you're in the building, there's somebody who's going to handle you. Okay. So when I hear about this restorative justice, my question comes: do parents understand this? Have we engaged parents in the process of this, knowing how it's going to be used? So I just feel like we need to use both. Our children need to be able to understand that there are rules out there in the public and there are rules in the school, and they need to be followed.
Okay, let's move on to organizational stewardship. Now, reliable transportation, stable staffing, effective operations, and responsible budgeting all directly impact student success. Now, these are many areas where JCPS has struggled in recent years. How would you evaluate whether the district is being a good steward of taxpayer money while also ensuring that students receive the services that they need?
So how we're going to know if we're being good stewards of money is based on how our kids are doing. How are they graduating high school? Are they college and career ready? Do kids feel safe at school? Do they feel valued at school? Are we meeting their individual needs, or are we taking them to the people that can address their individual needs? Reaching out to the community. You know, looking at the bus situation. I was highly involved in the busing situation when I was working for JCPS. I don't think ever was there a misappropriation of funds. I think that we have a lot of kids and we need a lot of money to help our kids get to school. We need to, be able to let that kid walk to the bus stop safely, or we need to be able to pick a kid up safely. So it just comes down to how the community feels that we're doing, how our kids are learning, and what success they're showing.
So one of the tenets that I'm running on is community. I'm a community engagement person for nonprofits, and I've done that for a really long time. So one way that I would measure whether or not we're being good financial stewards is hearing from the community. I'm going out and about meeting community members from all across the district, doing meet and greets so that I can really learn about how they have interacted with JCPS in the past, maybe as parents, as students, as community members, business leaders, because we really need to incorporate the community more into JCPS to ensure that we can get that trust and buy-in back that we really deserve to have so that, there's a saying, it takes a village to raise a child. We need to take that same approach when we're talking about our JCPS kids and JCPS in general, because it truly takes a community to raise our children. And regardless of if your kids or you went to JCPS, we need to make sure that we're wrapping our arms around our kids, making sure that they are hitting those outcomes, making sure they are graduating, making sure that they are able to read on grade level. Thank you.
Would you read the question again, please?
Absolutely. So we're talking about reliable transportation, stable staffing, effective operations. Those all directly impact student success, but those are also areas where we have seen JCPS struggle. How would you, as a board member, evaluate that the district is being a good steward of taxpayer money while also ensuring that students receive the services that they need?
Well, the way I see it right now, no, we haven't been. And what I would like to see basically to show individuals or the community, I should say, that we are good students, stewards of the money, is how successful our children are. Uh, I know I can't get off on this, but transportation bothers me. I believe that children should be able to go to whatever, have that choice to go to any school they want to go to. And I know that transportation is a problem, but I think we need to look at that. And by changing that, the rules that we have right now, parents or the community can see, oh, well, yeah, they did use my money well. Um, Also, like I said, it's the success of the students. But transportation is one of my pet peeves right now.
Transportation and
Just overall organizational stewardship.
So what we have to do is, of course, the word is transparency, but it's really like financial reports. It has to be ongoing. For example, we talk about busing and stuff, but we don't mention that we have to get the bus drivers. We don't mention how much that costs. So I think within open communication, when we see like, hey, this is how much it's costing, this is what we need, and this is what we're getting out of it, I think as far as a community, we'll be able to build that trust again. For example, we all want to drive, but we also know gas is almost $5. So you kind of determine, oh, well, we can't do this, we can do that. But I really feel that if we'll be more open with what we're spending, how we're spending it, and what is our common goal, I think then we'll be able to build that trust and everything else will come and flow.
Okay, I think we're ready to move on to diversity, equity, and poverty. So JCPS lost nearly $10 million in federal funding tied to DEI programs. How would you determine what students and schools are losing, not just on paper, but in services and outcomes? And what information would you expect the administration to provide the board, and how would you use that to decide whether those services need to be restored, redesigned, or funded differently?
Can you break down that question one more time? That was fine.
So when it comes to JCPS losing billions of dollars in diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, how would you determine what students and schools are losing, not just on paper? And then what information do you expect the administration to provide to the board to possibly restore those services?
So I'm going to answer the first part of the question. So it is a great tragedy that we are losing a lot of money that was going towards DEP, diversity, equity, and poverty. I would like, as someone who has really worked well with DEI, I think it is that's just such a travesty, truly. I would like for us to work with the community organizations, specifically nonprofits, to ensure that we're able to kind of fill those gaps in the meantime so that our kids are not losing that important resource. There are over 500 nonprofits in the city of Louisville that are doing good work, and they're not as constrained as JCPS may be. So it is an opportunity for us to build better partnerships with nonprofits and businesses who can provide some of those resources. I know that the DEP department is still working and funded, so I would like to see kind of how those metrics are being changed, but that's all that we can do at this point.
Okay. That's just one little portion of money that went to DEP. I mean, DEP dealt with a lot of issues in order to make things equitable. So if it was $9 million, she said, then why couldn't we recoup that money somewhere else if it is important to us? Also, we have all these corporations here in our community. If diversity, equity, and poverty is important to them, it would appear to me that they would invest in that department. So I just don't want to sit here and say $9 million is the reason why DEP is not getting what it needs. We have money to help DEP to do what it needs to do. We just have to be committed to it.
Relationship building. Currently, as a board member, my biggest question is how can we get more funding, fundraising wise? Right now, we all know taxes is how we're raising things up. And so I have had many conversations with other organizations from businesses to the nonprofit sectors because we have seen where they are able to close that gap within summer programs, after school programs, even with not even just education, just wraparound services. So when we lost that $9 million for 10 years, the first thing that I thought about was who else can cover this? And this is where we come on our relationship with Metro Council, the other organizations that I was speaking. And we also need to look at other funding outside, like grants and stuff. It does go specifically towards the goals that we're seeking. For example, like Louisville Block was giving out things for lighting, and that would actually help out morale and things like that. So there's other ways that we can make this dollar stretch and come up with something.
I've got some really good folks up here with me. I agree with most of the things that they've said. But I do want to keep in mind that we do need to look at our staffing in all areas. Specifically, since we're talking about DEI, let's talk about DEI. There are a whole lot of people employed in the district in that area. What we need to do is look and say, okay, what is this person doing in this area? What is this person doing? Are there ways that we can combine those under one person, and then that person share their knowledge and what they're bringing to different people that are already in the district? That's not going to make up all the money, but I do think it's something that we need to look in. We need to look inward, not just in DEI, but across the board to see, do we have too much staff? What is that staff doing and how can we reduce it? Then, as these good folks said, we have an amazing community, city community. There are all kinds of non-for-profits that should and could help us across all many different areas, and we need to really reach out and utilize those folks.
Okay, let's talk about the board and the superintendent. So the Kentucky legislature passed Senate Bill 1, which is certain decision-making authority from the elected school board to the superintendent and kind of raises that threshold to the board to overrule the superintendent as well. Do you believe that is necessary reform or legislative overreach?
Let me put it to you this way. The superintendent is the CEO, okay, like of any other business. So he has to be accountable for certain things. So I see our role as a board member is to hold him accountable. And if he's not doing the job that we expect him to do, then we have to have a vote of no confidence. And he has to go. Just that simple. I understand why the law came into being, but we are a business. Believe it or not, our children are our business. So he is the head. We look to him for answers. We look for him to carry the school district to prosperity and success. And if he doesn't do it, we have to let him go.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. So, Senate Bill 1 shifts decision-making power from the elected school board to the superintendent, and that was made by our General Assembly. Do you believe that was necessary reform or legislative overreach?
Okay. I feel like for JCPS, it was most definitely an overreach. However, I do believe that the board does not run the district. We hired a superintendent, and therefore the superintendent should do his job. Just like any other job, if he fails to do what he said he was going to do, evaluations and etc., he will be let go. But we can't just say that without also saying that we need to support him. Example, he came into this with this deficit. That was not his plan. His plan was to help out the students get their test scores. He couldn't even do it this first year. So we have to be realistic and say, hey, this is what it is. This is what you were able to do. However, if it doesn't seem like he's not even making an inch towards it, then unfortunately he will have to go.
So here's what I'm gonna say. I'm not mad at the bill. Now, as a person who's not already on the board, I wasn't taking that personal, so I do want to put that caveat in there. But here's the way I see it as a blessing. Um, the superintendent will be making the day-to-day decisions of the district, and then he will bring to us the things that we need to address specifically. So we're not getting lost in the weeds in meetings trying to deal with that, and that, but we'll be able to focus our attention on the budget and other big ticket items that we really need to be taken care
Okay, let's talk about trust. Now, public confidence is essential for the success
Wait,
of the school
wait,
district.
I didn't get to answer.
I'm so
That's
sorry,
okay.
Deja. My apologies. Go right
So, like all of them have said, I don't think there's really a point in talking about the bill. It's already here, it's now. The things that we need to focus on as board members is making sure that we have better relationships with Frankfurt going forward, so that as bills are being introduced like this, that we are able to either prevent them or curb them. I know that we had some really great allies out there to make sure that it wasn't as big of an impact as it has been. But as a school board member, I hope to be able to be that person. I have those relationships in Frankfurt. I have those relationships in Metro Council, and I'd like to be one of the people who is helping to make sure that as Frankfurt is making decisions about JCPS, that we have a JCPS representative there to make sure that it's not as big of an impact or it's something that is actually beneficial for us.
now we can talk about trust. Well, public confidence is essential for the success of a school district. Now, as a board member, what specific actions would you take to build that trust with families, employees, and the community as a whole, while also maintaining transparency and accountability?
So I've already kind of talked about it, but I really am going out, doing meet and greets, and really talking to the community. I'm going to neighborhood associations. I'm really talking to people to really let them understand and know first of all, that there's an election, because a lot of people don't even know there's an election. Making sure also that they understand the kind of stakes that are on this ballot specifically, and then also so that they can build a relationship with me so that we can work together to make sure JCPS is the best school district it can be. So I plan to continue to have meet and greets, especially before we are making decisions as board members, to make sure that I get community input beforehand, making sure that I understand the impacts to businesses, community members, parents, teachers, students. There's a lot of things that we are making decisions on without really talking to the community about it. And so I'd like to ensure that we are working with them to make better decisions and to make more informed decisions.
Well, I have been doing visitations throughout the community, but as a board member, if I'm elected in the seat, I will have monthly meetings with the families and the students so I can hear what's going on. I also see these people as a connection for me to meet with and work with because this district is so vast. And I would hope that if one of us gets this position, that the other three of us will not just say, hands off, I'm not going to be a part of it. I want us to meet as well so we can address all the issues for our district. We're going to represent you sitting on that board. You're welcome. You can have it. Sorry.
About trust. I've been on board about 2 years, and big thing for me is being able to be actually out there with my teachers, my principals, and my students. I had the opportunity over the summer to do a few beautification projects, even when schools is not even in my district. And I do that because all the students we are responsible for. I'm not just responsible for four. I have family in 3, 2, 1. So my biggest thing is being out there, being seen, and I really want to hear the voices of the youth because I remember being young and not being heard. And for example, Kirk has this round table, and to see the youth speak, and then later on come to my board meetings, I have more fire in me than before. So the trust factor is actually being in someone's face, not just answering an email, but actually being hands on and really working with the students, the families, and overall JCPS.
So one of my favorite things to do in this world is talk to people. So what I'm going to make sure to do if I'm elected is to make sure that people can reach me. You got a problem? I want you to email me. I want you to call me. I'm retired from JCPS. I got some time. Let's talk about what's going on. Be available to the people, both at a large venue and at a personal level. Um, as a central office administrator, what I learned most is that people want to be heard. And if I can listen to you, you can tell me what your problem is, and I can say, yes, I can help you with that, or here's why I can't. So we just need to be available to the people. I'd also like for our board meetings to be better, what's the word I'm looking for, promoted. We have the couple ways that we have to promote a board meeting every time there's a meeting, but there's more things that we can do. We can use the media outlets a little bit more. We can use old school flyers, get people looking at what we can do. There I go, my first time going over. Thank you.
I want to make sure that everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go to the next one. Let's talk about student well-being. So student success depends on more than academics, and top of mind for me is again, heartbreaking act of gun violence that happened at a bus stop yet again this morning. So what role should the board play in ensuring students attend school regularly, that they feel safe, develop positive relationships with adults, and have access to the academic as well as the social, emotional, and behavioral support that they need to thrive?
As I said before, we're not involved in the day-to-day, but when it comes to school policy, as far as safety is concerned, our children and our teachers should feel safe, respected, and we need to make sure that that occurs. we need to re-engage our parents so that our parents can feel comfortable when they come into a school, regardless of where they live, regardless of their ethnicity, that they are respected as well. So I hope I answered that question because it was a very long question. But we need to show, as far as policy is concerned, it's my duty to make sure that we follow the safety policies that have been implemented for the district.
Yes.
Pretty much student well-being, how do you wanna, what role does the board play in making sure they feel supported beyond academics?
Well, a major role, the board, when it comes to different committees, that's where the policy team comes in. I believe truly that I'm responsible for all students, just as the teachers, because I have the opportunity and the opportunity to be able to make these decisions. So when it comes down to the policies, I do believe that we need to make sure that everything is universal, that it's not just being biased for one group of people. We need to also make sure that it's transparent and that it's up to date. A lot of policies that I'm seeing is not feasible. So that's why we have to be open minded and redo some of these things. But I do believe that the board have a great responsibility in making sure that all of our students are safe, and then of course the superintendent makes sure that that is good as well.
Our job is to put in place policies that allow the school-based staff to make kids feel loved, respected, and safe. We cannot do it from the ivory tower. It has to be done at the school level. And the way we can do that is making policies and procedures that benefit the teachers and the students.
So I really believe that the board really needs to work with the superintendent to empower him and the rest of the faculty and staff to make sure that they are able to create safe environments. As they have all said, it is our responsibility to focus on policy and governance, but there should never be a time where a child is afraid to go to school or afraid to be on the bus stop. So we need to make sure that we are working together with the superintendent to ensure that we have safe policies and that we're paying attention to these things. Because that act of violence, it's horrible. It's happened a couple times in the last couple of years. So we really need to make sure that we're paying attention and we're aware. Those community forums that I talked about would be really important to see. Are our kids having to go in unsafe areas? Do we need to change the bus stop? Do we need to change something else that's happening that is contributing to this? So again, we're focused on the core governance, but making sure that we're empowering the superintendent to make those safe decisions. I think it's him.
Did you go, Miss Patrick?
Yeah.
You did, perfect. Okay, well, those are all the questions that I have. Do we have some time for audience questions, Felicia?
Yes, I'm gonna take the mic from you. No, I'm gonna take the mic from them, maybe.
You want this?
And
Oh, this
the
mic.
other one,
Okay.
I'm gonna go in the audience since we don't have. Can you see that? Okay. Felicia Newman,
I'll share this with you.
Director of Policy. Do you have any questions? Jackson.
I'd like for you to give me just a feelings answer. When you all heard that a group of teachers who were substitute teachers were getting their salaries cut in a certain way that they were cut, how did you feel? And then, how did you feel when you heard that a young lady could not get a bus schedule changed to get her on the bus, and it took 4 days for the administration somehow to get that approved? How did you feel? And how will your feelings change?
Will we just start with Ms. Jackson? You give a 30-second response, 15-second response.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, so of course, hearing both of those things are very sad and upsetting. One of the other tenets that I'm running on is transparency and accountability. We should all understand that how to go about processes, specifically for the kid that needed the school bus change. We should know who to contact to make sure that that bus can be changed faster. That shouldn't be something that takes 4 days. And then for the substitute teachers and that pay cut, substitute teachers is how we thrive. There is a big teacher shortage right now, so we need to make sure that we're not only taking care of our teachers, faculty, and staff, but our substitute teachers are part of that as well. So my feelings are, I'm sad. Here you go. Here's what you
The transportation issue, really don't want me to talk about that, but, because I could go on and on, but I didn't like it. Um, we're dealing with human beings. We're not and that's what children are, and parents dealing with them. We should have always some type of immediate conversation with whoever's having a problem. It should not take 2 or 3 days to figure that out. If it is, I'm sorry, maybe that person needs to go. Now, if we're talking about teachers, substitute teachers, I would like to see all teachers, not just substitute teachers, get a comparable raise. And, because let me ask you something. Do brain surgeons have to have a side hustle? When it comes to our teachers, they are important to the success of our children. So therefore, our subs, teachers, certified teachers, everybody needs to get paid. So if they're getting paid properly, then they don't have to work a second job. They can concentrate more on those students in that classroom and design assignments that will help our children. Oh, I'm sorry.
For me, when I first see the email, when it came to the student, as a parent, I was frustrated, confused, and scared. With that, I was actually able to figure out how, for the next time, who I would need to go to. So that was an educational learning thing for me. But when it comes down to the teachers, the substitute teachers, and the funding, that is never a good feeling because I have friends and families who's a part of that. But I also put myself in that position. To lose any type of funding from my family, it is devastating. But however, I am optimistic that in the future we're going to be able to figure out how to make everybody get what they deserve. That's us doing the audits. That's us getting rid of certain programming just to make sure the funding is well. But with that bus stop, and it was I'm glad it is able to get resolved. But even with the shooting and stuff, those things is it, I lose sleep off of that. So, but I have very confidence that with Dr. Buell's leadership and the team, that everything's going to be much better moving forward.
To straightforward answer that question, I was sad and I was mad. Substitute teachers, our schools cannot survive without substitute teachers. I don't know the numbers, but in JCPS there are a multitude of people absent every day. And if we can't fill it with substitute teachers, other teachers are having to cover the class, and then they're not able to do the planning and get ready for kids when it's time for them to teach their lessons. So that's number one. The bus issue, not to go too much into it, but that's what I used to do in my role in the district, my last role in the district. I could have fixed that problem in 30 seconds. But people have to know the right people to call. And that's a problem that we have in this big old district.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for the engagement. I have a quick question. It's about finances. When it comes to finances, I believe the right question is not necessarily can we afford this, but the right question is what is the impact of not being able to afford this, right? I would think we would all agree on that. So with that outlined, being finances being the main point, I've heard two major narratives in terms of correcting the financial woes of our district. One being using the word tax revenue increase without individually using the word tax revenue or increase. The other narrative is to use the word right sizing in a way that might or might not be appropriate for the situation we're talking about. And when I say right sizing, the conversation I've heard is, although we have way more capacity of students than we have actual students, so how can we be more efficient about that? Do you happen to have an opinion on how, if one or both, or some combination, or a third way to convince the community on the need for supporting overwhelmingly without necessarily cutting back? Because whenever we cut back, it affects human beings and it doesn't impact everybody the same way. So if that makes sense, the overall arching is, which stand are you? Are you into tax revenue increase without using the words, or right sizing, or some other combination?
Let's keep that to about 15 seconds if you can do it. Can you do it? 30, I'll give you 30. Go.
Do I need that
I can
too?
give her my money.
Thank you.
So I think there is a third option, and to understand the third option, I need to tell you a little bit. So, of course, we know that the federal government and the state government isn't giving us nearly as much money as we used to get. And so that is one of the reasons why we're in this part of this deficit. I've been talking about in the community, these are seeds that have been sown for a long time, and we're just happy to see what's growing from it. So one of the things that I really want to do, which is I've talked about before, is making sure that I'm working with metro government and state government. Of course, I don't have a ton of federal friends, but I do have a few that I would like to see if there's some way that we can get some more of that money that we had originally to take care of the 94,000 students, because we're trying to stretch a dollar. I know a dollar is not going to pay for 94,000 kids. So as a mom, I know that it's not paying for one. So I want to make sure that we're finding other streams of money, but particularly in the places that should be paying for it. So.
I'm for increasing the tax. And the reason I'm for it, we scream for a high quality education. We scream for it. We feel we deserve it. But I was always told you get what you pay for. So if you're not committed to paying for it, then don't scream about what you're not getting. I also feel that we need to be, and I think we said this, good stewards over the money that we're getting. And I promise you, if I'm on that vote, I will be scrutinizing that budget. And I think I'll just leave it alone from there.
Okay.
Since I've been on the board and I learned about property taxes prior to being on the board, I don't really want to increase the taxes, but also since I've been on the board, I've been questioning who has been able to leave without paying their bill. Church shutdowns, Brown, so many organizations, and the lottery. The keys money is not coming to us really. So there's a lot of things that we need to go back to the drawing board and go get those dollars. Since I've started Metro Council, I need to get back to that. I need to get to the mayor's budget. I need, even the 26 councils, you can give me 10,000. There's different, but as everyone's speaking, there's money out here. There's a lot of money. Even going down to the artists. We have, 3 major artists in the city? Why don't we reach out to them and get them? There's a lot of money out here that we just have not tapped in. And I've been one who's been talking, I've been one to even solicit it, like, hey, if you give us this, hey, we can give you a good. But I just understand that there's dollars out here that has not been claimed, and we need to start claiming them.
So one of my big platforms that I'm standing is our city is only as good as our students. If we are developing our students in the classroom, they're going to become contributing adults. If we provide a quality school system, then the children that we raise through the system are going to want to stay and bring their kids to the system. And people are going to move here from other schools. I know that people move here for our autism programs on a regular basis. okay? So if we have to raise taxes to make our community great, then no one should be upset about
This is going to be our last audience question.
There's two things to hold. Hi, I'm Chrissy Mudd. I am an educator in JCPS. This is my 16th year. So I've heard many answers, including collaboration with families and community, and I absolutely love that. And I would love for there to be more collaboration between all of our groups. But as educators, we are professionals and we are experts in our classrooms. So as a board member, how do you envision collaborating with our educators in a meaningful way?
Yeah, you can start.
it. Okay. That's a great question. Jefferson County does not survive without classroom teachers. In my opening statement, I said, we have to start and ask questions of the people that know the most. And the people that know the most are the people in the classroom. So, again, my stance is just to be available. Make sure everybody in the school know who their board person is. I can tell you when I was teaching, I didn't always know who my board member was, nor did I know that it was important. So spreading the word and making sure that they know who we are and that we're available is the first part, was the first point. Making sure that the teachers are talking to their principal, who may have access to the board member a little more frequently, will also do that. But I think any kind of big deal that we're looking at, we need to include teachers and have them in our discussion groups going forward.
So with teachers, keeping them informed, really, they're keeping me informed. They're letting me know what's going on. As the relationship builds. Prior to being on the board, I've learned that some teachers actually feared talking to board members. They actually did. Some of them said they never met a board member. So to me, that's shocking when I first hear it, but then it's also relieving because I'm here. And so with that being said, like I mentioned, going to Kirk's Roundtable, hearing what the teachers have to say, during and after school hours. Teachers know how to party too. So, I really enjoy just hearing what they got to say, real life, real time. They have great ideas. And then working with the principals. What we fail to realize is that the principals are human. And the principals was once possibly a teacher as well. So what I like to do is just really just mingle with them, let them teach me things, and let's see how we can make everything much better, but really collaborate with the teachers and them just teaching me, being open with me, and I'm just being just the ear. Really, sometimes that's all I have to be is an ear. They know I can't solve everything. They know I don't write their checks, but just the ear, and then going to Dr. Yearwood, letting him know, hey, this is what I heard. Fix it. Go from there. But other than that, the teachers and me, we're supposed to be best friends because they're teaching my babies, and I'm trying to do early retirement. Just saying.
Teachers are voters too. So if I am your board member, know that you have access to me. It was always an unspoken rule that you don't call a board member. Okay? I want you to know that my access to me will be available. Thank you.
So as I said, my dad is an educator, so he was a teacher for the majority of my life. And I'm going to do the same thing, make sure that I'm talking to the teachers, making sure that I'm really hearing what they have to say, working with organizations like JCTA to kind of hear, what's bubbling up from there in NEA. But really, I mean, in the meet and greets and the community engagement pieces that I'd like, I want to make sure that teachers are at the table. I have a lot of friends who are teachers and they tell me all kinds of stuff, as I said. So I want to make sure that I'm still ear to the ground and, I'm always out and about. So I hope that teachers are coming up and telling me about their experiences in the classroom, regardless of if I'm the board member or not.
Okay. Now we will allow each of the candidates to give their closing statements, and again, that is 1 minute.
Well, I hope what I said today has informed you all and made you all interested in voting for me on November 3rd. As I said, like the daughter of an educator and the parent of a JCPS student, I am super vested in what JCPS's board will look like and what decisions it'll make, not only for this generation's kids, but the ones 50 years down the line, because all the decisions that we're making, they are seeds that are being planted that we may not even see the fruits of those labors. So we need to ensure that we have people who are educated and interested in being on the board, making sure that they, have that vested interest and are going to ask the tough questions and not just say yes to everything because it's in front of them, but really ask critical questions to make sure that JCPS is something that the community can be proud of, regardless of if their kids go there or they have gone there. I want to make sure that people are proud to say that they're in Jefferson County with the public school system. So thank you so much for your time today. You're welcome.
I want you to know when you go to that ballot box and you decide who you're going to send to the board to represent you, I want you to think about, well, I want someone that's going to listen and then act. If that's what you want, then I'm your candidate. I will not sit idly by and not ask the right questions or not challenge the people that need to be challenged. I am committed to children. I have always been committed to children and this school district. Thank you.
Well, it's been a journey. It's been an honor and a blessing to be able to serve the board as I have so far. Um, Being reelected will actually give me the opportunity to continue to push the agenda forward and making sure that our students is having the best education, our teachers is being protected, and overall our families is being served. Being elected as a board member, I've been able to make a lot of changes behind closed doors and in front of the doors. And as a board member, I will continue to do these things. I will continue to hear the voices of the students, the teachers, the staff, and overall JCPS. I am a product of JCPS, and as you see, this is a grand thing. So I do appreciate everybody's time and just continue to just make everything better.
My name is Kimberly Vinegar. I have taught in this district or been an administrator in this district for the last 28 years. My two children, Bobby and Isaiah, have come through Jefferson County Public Schools and they are now thriving adults. I've chosen to retire from JCPS and live in this community. I may not have been raised here, but my life is here. I'm going nowhere. I'm not that girl that's going to run to Florida. I hate heat. I'm staying put. I'm invested in kids. I taught kids. I love kids. And it's all about the kids. And that's what I'm here for.
Okay, one more time for your District 4 candidate for JCPS. Thank you all again for having me. Thank you all for sparing your time to allow all of us to learn about what you're running for. And good luck to you all come November. Now I'm going to introduce, welcome to the stage, President and CEO of Louisville Urban League, Lyndon Pryor.
So much, Alexis. And thank you. I'll give a round of applause to our candidates again. Thank each of you. I want to thank each of you for being here and participating in this forum. One of the things I did get to open the forum today. I was chasing around one of my JCPS students, and actually about to go and chase them some more. But one of the things we always start with is who's here and who's not here, and I want to be very transparent and say that we had perfect attendance tonight. We had 4 folks who were running and who were on the ballot, and 4 folks who have showed up. And that sounds like a little thing, but it matters. And I cannot emphasize that enough, that when folks take the time to come and speak to the people that they're trying to serve, that matters, and we should take note of that. So thank you all for being committed and showing up tonight and speaking to the audience and those who are watching online. Thank you to everyone who's here. Thank you to those who are watching online. These conversations are important because these leaders are going to be the ones who decide and guide the future of the district for the foreseeable future. And there are critical decisions that are facing our district immediately coming up. We still have budget issues that have to be resolved. There are still going to be policy issues that need to change. We have things like transportation and safety and other things that are going to be top of mind. And so these conversations are critically important, and it is why the Louisville Urban League and our partners have engaged in this work, and it is why the power shift is so important. So I just want to remind you all again that we have launched the Power Shift campaign. It is a voter mobilization and messaging campaign designed to turn out the vote because we need people to show up. We do not have a registration problem in Kentucky or in Louisville. We have a turnout problem. And so we need folks to show up and use your voice, which is your vote, so that you can make substantive change in our community. And that can start with the school board election, but there are lots of things on the ballot. We've got Metro Council seats, we've got a mayoral election, we've got a U.S. Senate election. There are lots of things that we all need to be deeply involved and invested in. And so if you need more information on the Power Shift, just visit thepowershift26.org. And you can pledge to vote there as well as learn more information about what we have going on at the League. I want to thank again our partners in these JCPS forums, the NAACP, NCW, Clout, the Links, the League of Women Voters, and ADOS as well. And so thank you all for your continued support and partnership in getting these done. It has been a long slog, y'all. We are 4 down. We got 1 to go tomorrow. So I'll tell all your District 5 people to show up with us tomorrow for the final JCPS forum. And then share this video. And so we know that not everybody can make it because folks are busy. There's a lot going on. Students are all over the place. There's a lot to commit to. But that's why and I'm so thankful for Maxwell and Stay Live Stream because it allows us to put these things up and for other people to see them. So we've already had thousands of people to view the previous forums, and I expect that'll be no different. So go home, hop on Facebook, YouTube, find it, share it out so that people know when they can hear directly the answers from these candidates. And so make sure that people know what's going on. What am I forgetting, Felicia? Iroquois High School tomorrow, 6 p.m. And that leads me to thank you to Dr. Yearwood and the district. They have helped facilitate this to get us into the schools. That was a really important thing when we started out, was that we were going to host these forums in schools because we wanted to be in the places that these individuals are supposed to be responsible for. We could have done them at the league or some other place, but it was important for us to do them in school buildings so that folks were able to see and walk the spaces that they're going to be responsible for. And so thank you to the district for all of your support. But with that, you all have a safe and wonderful evening, and we will see some of you tomorrow. But please share the forum, these forums online so that other people can see what has happened here. Thank you.
These are the undeniable facts.
We are here today as a result of an election.
If you show up, you have power. You have power if you show up.
Anything that you are concerned about, any worry that you have for you and your family, we can tie it directly to a vote into an election.
Hey y'all, I'm Attica Scott, former Kentucky State Representative, and you're joining me today on State Live Streams.
We will continue to provide updates as we have more information.
Kentucky State Representative, and you're joining me today on State Live Streams.